And welcome back to Scissor Man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. This is hashtag from Dark Knights FOD. Dark Knights, what's happening, you guys? All right, so he has a pretty quick ask. Really all he wants to know is how can he get into the top 20 in Arena with what he has, and then the Heroic AAT, really just specifically Phase 2 and Phase 3. He knows about Jedi in Phase 1, and he knows about Rebels in Phase 4, and he's got a good Jedi team and a good Rebels team, so he's really wanting something kind of creative for Phase 2 and Phase 3 to get a little bit of damage going, and there's not a whole lot for Phase 2 and 3 that you can do. I mean, there are a number of teams, but it takes a huge investment. For example, Resistance and clones, and it's just a huge investment. So if you're making a hodgepodge team for Phase 2 and Phase 3, it is a little more difficult. So I do have some suggestions there, but let's go into Arena first. So he's got a Rex lead. Rex lead is nice. That's not a bad idea. And he's got Death Trooper and Shore Trooper, and Shore Trooper is going to keep him around a lot, and Darth Nihilus is an insta-kill, so that's great. And Rex as a leader right now is not a bad idea, just with the speeding up your team that it does. So Darth Nihilus and Death Trooper, both of them are going to increase cooldowns on the opponent, which is excellent. They're going to constantly be losing the capability of doing any of their specials. They're going to be stuck using a lot of basics. It's great against other Rex teams, so that way their Rex never gets a chance to cleanse the team because his cooldowns are constantly being increased. But you definitely want your fifth slot to be someone. You're using Emperor Palpatine right now, which is getting you into the top 50, but if you're going against Trute and Baze, it's going to cause issues, and so I would suggest 3 other character possibilities. Let's go take a look. Well, glancing at the top of your roster, and I know you've been playing for over a year, you've got a great roster lineup. A couple of characters jump out instantly. One is Director Krennic. You've got him 4-star, but gear 11, and you have Death Trooper in your lineup, so it would only make sense to put Director Krennic in there for the synergy that him and Death Trooper have. That would take your team probably to the next level. I really do think that that's an excellent combo pair. That's one of the great not reworks, but one of the great duos or combos in the game that they've created. So definitely that's an option. You also could use TIE Fighter Pilot. You have him 7-star gear 11, super fast. This guy can ability block and he can put down debuffs. And when you're using teams that rely heavily on debuffs, such as Darth Nihilus and your Death Trooper and whatnot, this guy fits right in. He kind of keeps himself alive with the foresight. He is squishy, but with the foresight, he's constantly going to have foresight because of all the debuffing that occurs with this team. And he hits like a tank. I mean, 20 to 30k pretty consistently, pretty easily. So definitely an option for you in this team. And then the third option I saw, other than Director Krennic or TIE Fighter Pilot, is Boba Fett. I mean, Boba Fett doesn't have his unique Zeta, but he doesn't have to have that Zeta. But you've got him geared up, startup, and he's fun. He's got an insta-kill, so that would be 3 characters now that have an insta-kill on your team with the Death Mark capability from Death Trooper and your Darth Nihilus and now Boba Fett with Execute. You would have 3 insta-kill capabilities on your team. This would be, in my opinion, much better than Emperor Palpatine, especially going against Rebels. And with the ability block, you now have 3 abilities basically to stop people from using their specials. For example, Death Trooper increases their cooldowns, Darth Nihilus increases their cooldowns, and Boba Fett ability blocks their specials. And so if you really want disruption and prevent them from doing what it is they're trying to do, I think the best character in this entire lineup would be Boba Fett for the 3 that I'm suggesting, either Director Krennic, Boba Fett, or TIE Fighter. But play around with it. See what your team looks like at the end. Throw Emperor Palpatine out, toss TIE Fighter Pilot in, and see how well you do. And if you just smoke your competition that you don't normally smoke, then there you go. If you're not as viable or less viable, or you find that you're dying easier, then switch it out. Try Boba Fett. Then also try Director Krennic and see which combination does the best. Now, I know that Rex lead doesn't make a ton of sense right now in the team that you have because your team is essentially all dark side, but you don't have Thrawn. And so because you don't have Thrawn, this is really, Rex is really going to be the best. Plus Rex with the additional turn meter will speed your whole team up. So because you don't have Thrawn, that would be the route I would go. Now, on to phase 2 of the heroic AAT. I would highly recommend an AoE, a dark side AoE team, something that does a lot of damage where everybody does AoE damage. And the first person I would recommend is your Darth Vader Zeta as your leader, and then Darth Sidious. Those are the two out of here I would bring. Darth Sidious has got an AoE with Exposed. Darth Vader puts the dots down that don't go away. Every time the tank turrets go, they're going to take more damage from those dots that will never disappear. Also, I would add Boba Fett, because he works really well under Darth Vader, and IG-88 with his AoE, and he's a dark side character. Now, yours needs love. His mods are horrible. He's only gear 7, and his attacks and abilities are at level 3, so I would definitely recommend maxing this bad boy out, and you're going to see a lot more action out of him. And then the last character I'd put on this team is actually Captain Phasma. She'll be able to speed your team up, similarly to kind of a Sith Assassin, and she'll be able to speed the tank down with speed down. And of course, she's dark side and she has that AoE. But she's more of a utility character to slow them down and speed you up. And with this team that I'm suggesting, that is kind of an issue. Darth Vader, Boba Fett, Darth Sidious, and IG-88. You can try to mod them for speed, but they go pretty quickly unless you can speed them up through some character such as this. So I would definitely, you've got her at gear 8. I would get her up to gear 10 minimum, and then I would just put on some better mods. But that would be the phase 2 team that I would do. For phase 3, I would use, again, a very common Empire team. I would use Emperor Palpatine as the leader, and under Emperor Palpatine, you're going to use TIE Fighter Pilot and your Death Trooper. Man, oh man, you're going to love watching Death Trooper and TIE Fighter Pilot with their debuffs. They're going to get additional turns instantly. You can use Death Mark, which is awesome. TIE Fighter Pilot has the ability block and the buff immunity. Really, really, really great combination under Emperor Palpatine. And then you can use Royal Guard and Stormtrooper Han to try to keep these 3 characters alive for as long as possible. So I suggested those 2 teams. I know you already have your basic Jedi team for phase 1, and you didn't need much help with that. I would finish off Ayla Secura getting her 7 stars. And then, of course, for phase 4, you've got your Rebels. You're going to use your Lando, Wedge, Biggs, Admiral Akbar, and probably Princess Leia. So there you go. There's your phase 2 Darth Vader-led dark side AoE team, and your phase 3 Emperor Palpatine team with other Empire characters and Stormtrooper Han. And for Arena, I would really take Emperor Palpatine out, throw in Director Krennic, Boba Fett, or TIE Fighter Pilot, with Boba Fett probably being the best. Side note, I have Boba Fett's Zeta, and I know a lot of people say it is not worth it, but I will tell you that it is worth it if you have Zetaed some other key characters. And if you have a bunch of characters that you want to Zeta but can't, I think Boba Fett should wait. But if you have only 2 or 3 characters you can Zeta and none of them sound like fun, trust me, it does bring another level of durability with Boba Fett, and the AI does know how to use execute properly, which means that you will get that protection regeneration, which is a nightmare for your opponents. I use it. It definitely makes him more durable and more viable, keeps him around longer, and he has his second life, remembering that with the Bounty Hunter's Resolve. So with that said, I hope everything works out for you. Hashtag, things look good. You're doing well. Hopefully you can grind on down to the top 10, top 20 with this team once you pull out Emperor Palpatine. What are your guys' thoughts? Leave them down below for him for phase 2 and phase 3 of the heroic AAT. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.